How do we deal with and fix when we have this extra fabric bunching in front of our arm's eyes to this? That's what we're going to talk about today. How to fix this bunching in the arm's eye. Hello and welcome back to my channel. My name is Trisha, your pattern nerd friend. We talk all about pattern making, fitting, and sewing here in this corner of the internet. And today we're talking about this excess fabric that can show up in front of our arms and under our armpits and be quite annoying. How do we identify this? What does it mean? And how do we fix it? And if you're new to this series, go and check out our previous videos where we address different wrinkles showing up in different areas on the body and how to fix them, sometimes in more ways than one. And in this case, it's always hard, as I say with every one of these videos, it's so hard to intentionally make something not fit exactly the way I want it to not fit. And then have the right fabric to really show you what's going on so that it shows up on camera. So please bear with me. I thought I would go with this lightweight linen because linen wrinkles very easily. And I was like, oh, that'll work well. And you guys will be able to see what I'm talking about. But we will enhance with drawing on the actual thing. And if this was a stiffer fabric, it would be cutting more into my armholes and be more uncomfortable. And so I hope that you're still getting the gist of this, and I will be showing and will accentuate with visuals in post. So what are we talking about here? We are talking about when you've got your bodice on, and I do want to preface this with saying that if you have a sleeve in your design, you know, whether it's a bodice or a top like this, or it's a jacket or something else, I highly suggest fitting the body first, because a lot of times adjustments that are needed in the armhole area, in the arm's eye, are going to have you adjust the sleeve to then fit what now is the body. So if you have the sleeves on, sometimes you can't really tell what's going on, and this is one of those adjustments that would really come into play. So have you ever worn a top or a jacket or something, and everything we do in life, we're putting our arms forward. We're driving, we're cooking, we're typing, we're on social media, right? Rarely are we doing this with our arms. So if there is something that is too tight, if it's too wide along the front edge of our body, it can really cut in. You ever have that, like, where you take the garment off and you have almost this red line, like right here in front? Has this happened to you? Raise your hand. I wish I could see you. I really do. Anyway, that is what is going on here. Now, like I said, this linen is very soft, so it's not really giving me what I was hoping I would get, but hopefully, like I said, you can pick up what I'm putting down. So right here, you can see, like, as I start to move my arm forward, you're gonna see all of these wrinkles that start showing up right here. That's what we're talking about. What really needs to happen is just this arm's eye needs to be reshaped slightly. It just needs to be cut in a little bit so that it's not cutting into you. It needs to be narrowed a little bit. And how do you know how much? This is why I'm such a huge fan of doing a fitting and doing a mock-up so that you can make these adjustments on your pattern before you go to your final fabric. But this is one where even if you're dealing with the actual garment and the garment fabric, you're cutting away, so it's not the same as making some pattern adjustments that we can't make to the garment afterwards. So this little handy tool here is one of my favorite fitting tools. It's a chalk pencil, but it kind of works like a mechanical pencil where you can change out the different chalk colors in this pen, and I just really love it. So it's something that I always have in my fitting kit, and I figured that that would be the best thing for us to work with today. So how do you know where to draw this line? Usually, as you can see, because I've been wearing it, I'm starting to get a crease right here at where my arm naturally wants to sit. So that crease that's already happening, if you're starting to see that, that's where your armhole stitch wants to be. So it's just a matter of drawing with chalk, right, or marker if you're using muslin, where you would want to cut away that armhole fabric. Like if that was cut away, don't we think, like you can see it's wrinkling right where I drew that line, you see? So that's how I know how much to come in. And then how do you know where to go back? Well, I'll show you another tip for fitting and making sure that your shoulders are sitting in the right spot. At my shoulders, I'm pretty happy with where this is meeting at my shoulder, and I'll tell you what I kind of go by. You want your shoulder seam to stop right before your shoulder goes into the round part of your arm. Another thing I use as kind of an indicator is if I lift my arm, it kind of goes in. See how it kind of goes in right there? That's where I want my sleeve seam to go. Just as a guide, since we're talking about armholes, that might help you as well. So I'm pretty happy with where that is sitting right now. So I want to come back to that line. Now, the bodice I'm wearing right now does not have any seam allowance in the armhole area, so I can clearly see where I want that stitching line to be. So if you have seam allowance on your mock-up that you're doing, it might be a little bit harder, or you may want to draw in where your stitching line is so that you can make sure that it's going to work with the adjustments that you might need to make in the arm's eye. If I'm good with where this is, so I would just draw that line to end where I'm cool with it continuing. So it's blending back in, I'm cutting this in just slightly, and then I'm pretty happy with where that's sitting under my arm. So I would just draw this line to meet up with where I'm happy in the underarm. So that's the adjustment that needs to be made to adjust my armhole. And you can again check it. And if you're unsure, and this is a mock-up, you can go ahead and cut that away, which I'll do in a little bit here, and really see how that feels. And you can kind of see how it's like already even going into my armpit. That's going to be really uncomfortable with all of these forward arm movements that I'm going to be doing because I'm living life, as I assume most of you are doing as well. That's all we need to do. That's it. Now let me show you what this looks like on the pattern, and then we'll go ahead and show you what it looks like when that extra space is not there and it's fitting me a little nicer. Now let's look at what's happening on the pattern. So a lot of times I would cut this open the dart and all of that. I'm not going to do that necessarily for us this time. I just open the shoulder seam so we can really see what's happening. And again, I'm using my handy Sew Tights magnetic cutting system. I absolutely love this system. If you guys want a discount, I will put my affiliate code down in the description. And I went back through and I did darken with my chalk this line that I drew on my body. And you can clearly see when I'm laying this down on the pattern that it is kind of wiggly. It's starting to fray. I mean, this is why fabric is unreliable, but I can easily see what needs to happen with this arm's eye. So I'm just going to take my needle wheel because I have one. It's super easy. I'm going to hold this down because I don't want this to move around on me. But all I'm going to do is I am going to, with my needle wheel, just follow that line. Now again, remember I am using a sloper, so I don't have any seam allowance along this line. If I did have seam allowance, then I would be dealing with just the stitching line, and then I would have to add that seam allowance back in. So it's probably hard for you to see, but I'll go ahead and draw that in. And that is the adjustment that I need to make. So I would just cut that off. And like I said, if you had seam allowance, if this was going to a sleeve, then you can go ahead and add your seam allowance to the new stitching line, and then you have corrected the pattern. So I went ahead and cut it off. This little sliver of fabric can cause so much pain, but no more. And look, you can see the difference. I only cut it off on this one side, and this side is what we started with in the original. And you can see how it's really more into my armpit, and really this smooths out the armhole and gives me a clear, nice armhole without being injured with everything we do going forward. That is our Read the Wrinkles series for today. How to adjust the arm's eye when you have that extra fabric pooling right there under your arm, or in the front of your armpit rather. I hope you enjoyed this one. If you like this sort of thing, I do have an online private pattern making membership where I can walk you through your exact projects and give you advice on whatever it is you are fitting. That means you can say, hey Trish, this doesn't work. What do you think should happen? And I am happy to share. That is called the Pattern Place, and we only open the doors a couple of times a year, and we might be opening them very soon. So if you're interested in joining us and joining our amazing community of support and other pattern nerds who get into this kind of stuff and make amazing things with our new superpowers, then make sure to join the wait list that is listed down below, and you will be the first to know when the doors open. And you also get in on some special discounts if you join during the pre-sale. That is all that we have for you today. Thank you so much for stopping by, and I hope we will see you next time.